Right, I think it's about time to start the meeting. Jeffrey, you will be recording this?
Yeah, the recording is already on.
Okay, so yes, and so first of all, welcome. I'm Michael, the chair of HOT's Training Working Group, and welcome to this webinar on JOSM plugins and map paint styles. So the recording will be available afterwards. Currently, HOT's YouTube channel is being a bit reorganized, so but we'll make sure it will appear on that. So with me will be Ralph A. Toon. I think most of you will know him. So we decided that I'll be starting with an overview over the paint styles, and Ralph will be in charge of the second part of this webinar, and that will be about the plugins. So let us dive right into the subject then. As always, if you have any questions, you're welcome to write them in the chat. Those of us who are not currently presenting will keep an eye on it and answer simpler questions or advise the speaker maybe to just repeat something. There will also be time at the end for questions and answers. So change, stop sharing this, and I'll start sharing my JOSM. Okay. It should be okay. Seems to work. Just let me know if this is no longer true. So we'll be talking about plugins and paint styles, and I think most of you will know that the way you can access them is through JOSM's configuration. Just hit F12 on your keyboard, and here you are with the preferences. There is a whole page here for paint styles, and there is another one, of course, for the plugins. And yeah, this one here for the plugins and this one here for the paint styles. Don't you worry, I'm not going through all of the ones I've got here, but I'll show you a couple of interesting ones. So they mainly come in, well, basically two fashions, something which well, changes the visibility, and others which will assist you in validating. And well, of course, there is a certain interference here in this field. Let me start with this excerpt here from rural Mali. A typical setting of HOT projects. You've got a fairly arid landscape, and usually if you start with JOSM's default paint style, you don't see the buildings very well. There are a couple of ways how to change the visualization. One of them would be the colorways paint style. If you activate this, you typically get a much better visualization. And the interesting bit here is that this paint style, like some, but not many, is configurable. That's maybe something you won't be aware of so far. You simply hover about the paint style name here, select the context menu.
Excuse me. Your display that you're showing is not showing anything about what you're talking about. It's just sitting on your open JOSM with no changes. Is that correct?
Open JOSM with no changes. So you're not seeing Mali here. Because
Yeah, I think we don't see any other windows that pop up, so we are seeing Mali. Yeah, but if any other dialog boxes open up, we don't see them.
No, you see the context menu here right now with the setting. No.
No.
Okay, so probably I've got an idea where this might be related to. 1 minute, please. stop the sharing and shift this one here. Sorry for the little hiccup. Fix that in a moment because I have an idea where this is related to.
You have to share your screen instead of just sharing your JOSM.
Yeah, I was sharing. Yeah, I think that was exactly something like that. One moment, please. As always. And as always, you don't want that. Navigation, shift home. Okay, there I am. So let me try sharing it again. Is that better now?
No.
We don't see a screen yet.
You don't see the screen yet. Do you see it now? Otherwise, I've got one option left.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now I.
Okay, that looks better. Okay, yeah. So I have multiple virtual screens here on my computer, and doing it from a virtual screen obviously doesn't work. Okay, good to know. So sorry for all that. So yeah, as I said, with the default paint style, you don't get a good visualization of buildings here on an arid surface. So colorways paint style is one of the things which can help you, and it's customizable. So you hover above here, use the right mouse click to open the context menu, and you've got style settings where you can choose the line width of the building and the color used. So I usually prefer something like pink or purple because we hardly have any surfaces on this planet which are pink or purple. So usually this stands out a lot better and helps you to visualize which of the objects you've already are already mapped in here. Because there are several other paint styles which do that, but yeah. So this one also does something for the highways. As you can see, without it, there is hardly any difference between the residential highway and the unclassified highway. Also, highways are not configurable here in the context menu. It clearly makes a difference. So highly recommended to use something like that in order to keep an overview. Another point is that you might want to know which of the objects might have been touched by you so that you can review them before uploading all of your changes. There are a couple of paint styles which deal with modifications. So modified objects is one of them. The good point is if you zoom out, yeah, it is clearly, and have a larger area, it is clearly visible, but the blob is still pretty large. And if you've got a densely built up area and you've made lots of changes, then it's a bit difficult to see which of the features you touched. So another one here, a new modified building is less intrusive. It's still visible, well visible when zooming out, but yeah, so you get a much better picture in here. And it also highlights the individual corners which you touched. So this is a building I just added a few minutes before we started. So you can see it in here. And there would also be one for modified highways. So far, we've got none in here. So depending on yes, the background image you look at and the kinds of image and the kinds of objects you're dealing with, these are some which is highly recommended just to enhance visibility and get a better overview. Then when we map in such areas, typically everything is flat on the ground and we hardly see bridges, tunnels, and anything like that. Nevertheless, it's a common mistake by mappers to, well, remedy any problems with interfering objects by just shifting layers, which of course is not what we want to see. There are a couple of paint styles which can advise you. The layer checker here is one of them. It doesn't spot any errors, but it advises you simply, oops, this is not on the ground, this highway. So the reason is that probably someone who mapped this highway didn't want to mess around with the geometries it's interfering with, and so assigned layer equal to 1, which of course is not as it should be. So well, what can we do in here? Of course, what we can do in here is shift this node maybe a bit up here and a bit up there, and then we're done, and we don't need this layer 1 any longer. So what comes into play now here is modified highways, because modified highways now tells us, oops, those 2 highways have some modifications, and you can even see which of the nodes have been shifted. So I usually prefer something like that before I commit all my changes, to get a chance to review them if it's still what I want to commit to the OpenStreetMap database. So when we talk about things which help us in and assist us here in validation, layers is one of them, and a paint style I generally would recommend instead of JOSM's default would be the Apple paint style. The Apple paint style also allows you to, well, is highly configurable, as I will show you, but it also has different color schemes for different kinds of highways, so typically it's quite good. The Apple paint style, as it comes by default, won't advise you of any issues with different layers, but it, as I said, is highly configurable. The style settings here is divided in different menus, subdivided here in different menus, and the one which would be interesting here is the Z index check. Z is, well, the vertical dimension. So okay, yeah, now it's no longer visible because if there is a different layer, we here, no, sorry for that. Layer is 1. So okay, now the Apple paint style will definitely highlight it. As previously, it doesn't highlight it as possibly wrong. It just advises you that this way here is on a different layer than the other objects. So apart from that, there are some building validation settings. So what I activated is building not equal to yes. That is something which is not the default. And you can see that here we have a warning because building here carries the tag house. You can also activate those building validation settings that nodes shared by buildings should be highlighted. Here we've got only one of them. This is typically not how we want buildings to be drawn, but if you look at, well, for instance, this excerpt here in Istanbul, then this won't be of big help because in this densely populated area, people map more or less all buildings as connected to each other. So that is, when working in such an area, I would deactivate that in order not to lose the oversight. So as I said, yes, colorways, the modified highways, objects, and new modified buildings enhance the visualization. The layer checker goes into a direction of helping you with validation. Apple paint style does a lot more of them. So, well, let's return to that example from Istanbul. And so here, these are subway lines. There's one as well. So that they are on a different layer is perfectly okay. And so I'd first of all deactivate the Z-index check a little bit. And yeah, when we zoom in, we see that some other bits here are highlighted in red. So here it tells me there is a building inside a building. So what's the reason here? Someone mapped a building. That's perfectly okay. And there are some objects here marked inside, some stores, and oh, what's that? Someone had a shop for a musical instrument as a point, but also said building, yes, and that's of course an error. Well, a point is never a building, and of course if it's placed inside a building, this should not be the case. So that's why the situation is being flagged, and that's quite common. I think we've got several of these bits in here, whichever is there. There will certainly be, pretty sure it's one of them. And as always, it will be the last one I try. Yeah. So this gallery is also tagged as building equals yes. So that is something which, of course, is to be avoided. There is another interesting paint style, which does much of the same here, but not always. That's the inline validation. So if I deactivate the Apple paint style again, building inside building is also flagged by this one in here. And yeah, I think, yeah, this is a road intersecting a building. I think, yeah, the Apple paint style also shows this. So okay, so the road should never intersect with a building, but should terminate a little bit before the building, of course. So usually in this paint style, if you zoom in a little bit, anything marked in red is usually something to pay attention to. You might have noticed that I deactivated other paint styles because before choosing a new one. Of course, you can have several paint styles here above each other, but these paint styles are called cascading style sheets, and there is a reason why they are called this one. Each specification is added to previous specifications, and you might see some interesting side effects. Would you please mute your microphones? Thank you. These paint styles definitions are added, and sometimes this kind of unexpected side effects. So if you think something looks weird, you might want to review your settings here and deactivate anything which you have added, maybe. So usually this is not a problem with simpler paint styles, but particularly with paint styles which have a lot of definitions. Chances are that there is some interference. So just clean out anything you see in here. So yeah, let me show you another example here that is now something in the, oops, that's for some reason. Okay, let me see why this doesn't automatically move here. So here we are in the eastern outskirts of Paris. And again, we've got some interesting bits here. Okay, missing layer or wrong value. That's something which might occur pretty often. We've got a tunnel equal to yes, but there is no layer being assigned. So something, I think that's pretty much the same in here. Yeah. So this is something which is also flagged by those paint styles. I'm pretty sure we have some, yeah, road intersecting building here as well. Pretty much the same here, road intersecting building. And yeah, there is something red as well in here, and that's an interesting one. Suspicious roundabout direction. Well, this doesn't exactly look like a roundabout. So someone mapped it as a junction roundabout, which certainly is not correct here. Nothing is like a roundabout in here. So nothing. Just to give you an overview, of course, you might want to return back to maybe the JOSM or even none at all in order to see inline validation a little bit better in such a densely populated area, but built up area. But
excuse me, Michael, we are not seeing any changes on your screen.
Okay, so when I
yeah, all we have is just a frozen partial map of background.
Okay, so then I might have to. Oh, that's not as it should be. Sorry for that. So then maybe I have to share it again. Maybe that helps. Okay. Okay, now you should see something different. And if I change the visualization here, is it now visible? Can someone advise me?
Something is certainly changing. I'm seeing red lines.
Okay, yeah. So this, as I mentioned, is the outskirts of Paris in here. And as I said, here we've got tunnels which have no layer attribute. So this is clearly flagged. And also this junction roundabout, which certainly is a wrong tag for this kind of highway. And as I just mentioned, when you are in a densely built up area, okay, it doesn't get any of the changes here. That's weird. Apple Paint style again, and you don't see the changes. So that's not nice. Why that is not going to work right now. Okay. Don't like those issues. Then okay. Is it? So okay, now you should you see that I'm moving around the map? Or can
we don't see a screen yet, Michael. It's just showing M, just your kind of name on it.
So I don't understand why. So the window, I just like to have. So and when I remove that paint style, let me see. You don't see that any longer. Yeah, you see it, but you don't see any. But obviously, you don't see any changes. I'm going to show that is not nice. So I've got no idea what's happening currently.
We now see a screen with JOSM and.
Yeah, you see the screen. That's definitely right. But when I make any changes, such as moving around the screen, I have the feeling when I look at the presentation here that for some reason the connection is broken. So it's it doesn't show anything I'm going to change. Well, anyways, there is basically one other paint style I'd like to show you. Have to share the screen, stop sharing and share the screen again once I'm done there. For whatsoever reason. Okay. Let me return to the presentation. That might be particularly interesting for validators. When you're working on a hot tasking manager project, you can download a task grid for a whole project, and you can load it's a GeoJSON file, and you can load it into JOSM. But then, you just see the geometry, and you can also zoom in, but it's not that particularly helpful because, you don't see which task is which one. So, and someone wrote a very interesting paint style for that. But in order to show that to you, I'll have to share it again. Sorry for that hiccup, but now you should see the difference. That paint style includes the task numbers within the grid, and it also adopts the color scheme as we have it in the tasking manager, which means that the green ones have been validated and the blue ones have been mapped. So if you want to do a review of a complete project, that might be a really good idea. Download the task grid and use that TM tasks grid paint style, which is shown at the lower part here in my paint style tab. And when you browse the available map paint styles, you will see lots of others. And many of them are highly specialized. There will be paint styles for railway mapping or for house numbering schemes in different countries. But at least those which will be helpful in daily work, and particularly when working with hot tasking manager, are hopefully covered with those which I have been showing to you. Yes, and kudos for those which are devoted to coloring. Go to Martin here from our working group. He authored quite a number of them. So yeah, kudos to whom they deserve it. Yes, and so that slowly but surely brings me to the end of my part in here. I won't dive into much more, mainly because first have to figure out for future webinars why that isn't working properly here. Do we have any questions so far? Just quickly browsing through the chat. Yeah, Martin shared the website. The OSM wiki has a compilation of all those paint styles which you can download from the preferences. Martin, you'd like to say something? Well, at least we don't hear anything, I think. But you raised your hand. So, of course, you might as well.
Michael?
Yes?
Justice did ask, how do you download all these styles under map paint styles? It was at the very beginning when your screen was not
Exactly. So
would you like to go over that again, please?
Sure. That's not a problem. Just have to rebuild the screen sharing, but now I'm quick at this. So oops, it doesn't even show. Ah, that counts. I see. That counts as a different window, I think. Stop sharing, and Windows as the preferences is a different window. Oh, got it. Sorry for that. So the preferences window, yeah. On the left, you can see all those paint styles which are available, and these are the ones which are documented on the JOSM wiki. You simply select one which you'd like to activate, and then you click on that arrow here, and then it will be moved to your active styles. These are the ones which, well, are available here in your paint style tab. And once you hit OK, then it will be activated. And in the same way, you can also delete some from your paint styles menu. Under the active styles, mark one which you want to delete and hit the trash can icon, and then it will be deleted from the active styles. So that's how the selection works. And that hopefully answers the question.
One more question for you, Michael, from Nantale.
Mm-hmm.
What's the easiest way to choose the right paint style?
Well, the easiest way, well, first of all, I hope I presented you with a reasonable selection of paint styles. Other than that, you simply have to try them. So you can see that there are some more ways, such as building colors. I didn't really try that. Yeah, colors buildings depending on their building tag. So what I did not cover here is something concerned with damage. I mean, the problem is that the damage tagging scheme is currently, I think, currently evolving. So it started with damaged equals something. Now we've got damage colon and the name of the event which damaged, and most of those paint styles are not fully up to the current recommendations. So you can try them, but typically I didn't see any really useful effect there. And as far as coloring goes, I mean, it has a lot to do with personal taste. So I really encourage you just try them. Those colorways and color highways will help you. The Apple paint style is generally quite good, but I'm sure if you don't like some of these colors, there might be others which help you. But there is really experimenting with them is the only advice I can give you.
Michael, Justice has asked, could you please give us a list of those styles that we use specifically? Well,
if we refers to I mean, so as I said, I mainly have this Apple paint style switched on because that really helps a lot. And it also colors things more differently than the JOSM default, and it also contains lots of checks for validation. Other than that, as I said, colorways helps to differentiate between building colors and the background, and also different highway colors. There are the modified highways or new modified buildings ones which help you to get an overview of what you changed currently and did not yet upload to the OpenStreetMap database. And the inline validation is also quite useful. These are the ones I typically use. There is a waterways paint style. If you're really in a wetland, this might help you get an overview because it makes a real difference between rivers and lakes and swamps and things like that. But for instance, all buildings are simply a plain gray area. which doesn't let you see anything through it. So that is only useful really in wetlands. And other than that, you're mainly, just try them. As I said, the tasks grid is useful when you work with a complete task grid here in JOSM, but just the ones I mentioned here in this talk are the ones I personally work pretty often with. If, yes, Ralph or Martin, you have any other suggestions, you might drop them in here now, but these would be my recommendations. But well, paint styles might be added, so it's never a bad idea to review the repository of available paint styles and look for something which sounds interesting. Yes, and with that, I think Martin. Yeah, I haven't shared any screen while I was talking right now. Yeah, that's true. Martin, did you want to say something? You've raised a hand. Okay, if this is not the case, then this would be the part on, okay. If you're, yes, you might want to type something in the chat if there is something I should mention. But if that is not the case, I think this will finish our first part here. And then I would like to hand over to Ralph, who will introduce JOSM's plugins to you.
Yes, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you, wherever you are. Thank you. This is an absolutely great turnout. So let's see if we can get started and have some success with screen sharing. So let's just go to right. Hopefully, I will have some success. Right. We should be seeing my plugin screen now.
Yes, that's true.
Great. Okay, right, folks. I'm going to switch off my screen, so I don't want to be a distraction. I'm going to switch off my video, so I won't be a distraction. And you can all concentrate on the screen. Right, so we're going to be doing JOSM plugins. Now, what you need to know is that there are 3 ways to open the JOSM plugins preferences panel. And the preferences panel is the one that you use to transfer any plugins that you want to use into your active file. Right, so let's take a look at how we go about this. Okay, the first one, of course, is to press F12 on your keyboard, and that opens up the preferences file. The next way is to select the preferences from the download toolbar. So you've got this little icon here with the 2 straps, and that opens the preferences dialog for global settings, and that's at the top of your JOSM screen. And of course, the third way is go to the edit drop-down menu and select preferences from the drop-down menu. So those are the 3 ways that you can open up your preferences. Once you open the preferences, doesn't matter which method you use, once you open it, you go down the list on the left and you select plugins. just remember, Michael was showing you the map paint styles, which is just 3 steps above that, and that's where you would have got the map paint styles. But this is where you get the plugins, and you click on the plugins, and that will give you a list of the plugin tools. So let's have a look at JOSM. Right, so here is my JOSM screen, and I go up to the little strap and I go to the preferences and I click on plugins, and you can see there is a complete list of plugins. Now I will go through some of those plugins so that you can understand what is happening there. So let's just go back to the screen and next. So the first and the most important, of course, all-round general for mapping and validation is, of course, the buildings tools. The buildings tools there's a wiki page that explains a lot about the buildings tool and what you need to know about it. The buildings tool gives you a number of options. Using the fast keys on your keyboard, you press B, and that will give you the big building tool. The building tool opens automatically, or should I say default, in the rectangle building. However, you can change the tool by pressing Alt plus Z, and that gives you the round building tool. And that is also easy to use. And you use Alt plus R to get back to the rectangle tool. So let's have a look at what this building tool is like, shall we? Right. Let's just see. Here we have a JOSM. You've got on the top left here, above the little sign, is all of your tools that you've got available. Below that sign are all the plugins that you have that will open up a panel on the right-hand side. So all of these will open panels on the right-hand side. So just remember those, okay? We have got the buildings tool already here. So using the buildings tool, you can see it has opened up and it gives me the rectangle. Let me explain that. What you do is you go to one corner of the building, you click on that. You go to the next corner of the building, you click on that, you drag the tool across and you let go. You now have a correctly squared building, plus what you have in the tags. Let me press S on my keyboard to select, and you can see here in the right-hand side, it's got building equals yes. So it automatically squares a building and it automatically tags the building. So this is ideal tool for everybody to be using and have available in your setup. Right, so let's go back. That is the buildings tool. It is very, very useful. Moving on, next is another very important one. This is the Utils plugin 2. It gives you a whole range of new tools. You do have those sub tools in JOSM, but these are additional extra tools which are not hard-coded into JOSM when you start up. So this gives you some edit, some more tools, some data, and selection. And this is all very helpful. Just remember, there are, why did that happen? Sorry about that. Let's get my JOSM back. Okay, so as I was saying, Utils plugin 2. You have here the list at the top and you click on that. Those are your tools. Those are good ones to have, and they are hardcored, but you get more tools, okay? And the more tools are ones that have been added by the Utils 2 plugin. This plugin really is a very, very useful tool, a set of tools. And let's just go back to this. Okay, don't do that. Right, so here we have, it won't let me do anything with the screen. Okay, so we have all sorts of things like the align way nodes, Shift L. So this is very useful if you're doing a straight road. You do a number of nodes along the road, but you want to straighten it up. So you select the end node and the start node and the end node and all the nodes in between, and you just use Shift and you just use Shift L, and it aligns all the nodes in that way. So L is very useful to know. It also gives you the replace geometry, which is very, very important. Replace geometry means that if you think that it's much quicker to redraw a building rather than try and adjust it, just move the one building aside, draw the new building in, and use your replace geometry, which is Control-Shift-G. What will happen there is the new building will carry all the history of the old building plus all the tags of the old building. And that will really help you in the replace geometry. We would much prefer you to use the replace geometry than using the delete, delete a building and then add a new one, because deleting the building destroys all of the history. So please, if you can, replace geometry rather than deleting. That is all very important. It gives you lat-long tools, circle arc, and many, many more. Adjacent ways, all connected ways, all intersecting ways. So those are all tools that you use. All connected ways, Control-Shift-E is a very good one to find out whether all your highways are connected to the main system or whether they're floating on their own. All those that are connected will be highlighted, and the ones that are not connected will not be highlighted, and you'll be easy to see them. Just remember, any highways, roads that are not connected to the system, the sat-nav will not be able to reach them. So it won't be any help to software, sat-nav software, if you are trying to find a way to some of those places. So that's a very good one to use. We use it as well in validation to check that all the ways are connected. Right, Utils plugin 2. Now let's move on. As you'll see, Michael will make this video available to all, and possibly you will be able to see the, there's a wiki page for each of these, which means that you can read up more about it and what all the tools are and how to use them. So please note the wiki pages as well. So the next one is measurement. The measurement gives the measured values of the selected feature. Now, this is a very useful tool for you to find out how big is a building. Is it long enough for someone to lie down and sleep in? Or is it just a garden shed? Or is it so small that it is only maybe a dog kennel? So the measurement tool is very useful. The other way to use the measurement tool is to measure the width of a highway. Just remember, if the highway is less than 1.8 meters wide, you can't get a four-wheeled vehicle down there. So it is very useful to find out whether it's just a path or whether it is wide enough for a four-wheeled vehicle. The other use of the measurement is to measure the width of a waterway. If the waterway is wider than 10 meters, then we would like you to create a polygon of the waterway to show its width. But remember, do not put all the necessary tags on the polygon. The necessary tags like the river name, the directional flow, and any other tags should in actual fact be on the center line of the waterway. So the waterway will be shown with two lines. One is the center line, the other is the polygon. Now, with the polygon, you can show islands within the waterway by changing the polygon into a multi-polygon. Okay, so that's the measurement tool. And hopefully you will experiment with that and try and find what else you can do with the measurement tool. The measurement tool will also, if you open up the window on the right-hand side, from the panel on the left, open the window on the right-hand side, you will also get the area. So if you want to find out the area of a certain playing field or the area of a building or any other feature, you will get that in the panel, measurement panel on the right-hand side. Right, moving on to the Mapathoner. The Mapathoner is a very, very interesting tool. It gives you a number of things to use. It is situated, once you've downloaded the Mapathoner plugin, it is situated on the drop-down menus along the top of your JOSM. It gets you to batch circle buildings, batch orthogonal buildings, and batch L-shaped buildings. Now, what that means is it's a fast way of drawing different sized buildings using the Mapathoner. You can pick residential areas, but interesting is the one that you select to duplicate buildings, Control-Shift-X. You can select non-orthogonal buildings, Control-Alt F4. Select non-round buildings, Control-Alt F5. Now those selects are, I see Justice has asked a question. I'll come back to you in a moment. So the select features are excellent for validation. You can quickly switch on and see whether there are unsquared buildings or some round buildings are not quite round, or you can find any duplicate buildings where there are two buildings on top of each other. So that is very, very useful in the Mapathoner. Right, now, Justice has asked a question. Could you please show us how the measurement tool works? Okay, let's just see if I get my screen up. Here we go. Right, now, the measurement tool is not in my panels on the right-hand side. So when I go to here, I go down and I select the measurement tool on the left-hand side, open the measurement tool, and at the bottom right of my screen, you can see now that there is a measured values panel on the right-hand side. Now let's take, we have a playing field here, a recreation ground. Let's find out what the whole perimeter is. So I click on that. Remember, it's now selected. And I go down here and I can see the area is 7,707.76 square meters. So I'm getting an area of square meters here. I'm getting the length of the boundary is 361.67 meters. So that those are all very interesting features that you use if you are interested in the size and areas. If you want to know one side of the building, then just select one node, hold your shift on your key and select the other node, and that will give you a selection length of 111.4 meters on the right hand side. Another way of using the measurement tool is to measure highways. So let's just zoom in here and have a look at the width of this highway. To measure that, I use my line tool. So I press A on my keyboard, which gives me my line tool. I select one side of the highway and I run my tool across and I get to the other side of the highway. Now I want you to watch the little measurement symbol down at the bottom here. And you can see that it gives a number. If I go up and I measure the width of this and it tells me it's 8.14 meters wide. That's well in the realms of having motor cars driving up and down there. But there's one thing you must remember when you use the line tool like this, is when you escape from that, it leaves a node behind. You need to select that node and Control Z so that you get rid of that node so that it doesn't sit there as a non-entity with no tags. So please remember, if you use the measurement tool, now you use the line tool to measure the width of a waterway as well. And you will be able to see the results quickly on the bottom of your screen in the little measurement tool. Let's just, Justice, does that answer your question? Yes, okay, thank you very much. Okay, let's go back. And now we were talking about the Mapathoner tool with all of these. So let's just explore the Mapathoner and let's have a look. So the Mapathoner tool sits up here. Once you've loaded it as a plugin, it sits up on the top here, and you can see you could get your drop-down menu for each one. Now let's just show you the fast drawing of this very quickly. So I select my press A on my keyboard for my line tool. Now remember, this is a line tool and not a building tool or an area tool. So what I do is I will say, all right, I've got a whole batch of round buildings here. Let's use these trees as round buildings. So what I do is I go from one side to the other, and then I carry on from one side to the other, and I carry on from one side to the other, and I carry on from one side to the other. I press select from my keyboard, pressing S to select that. I go to my Mapathoner and I say batch circle buildings. And by clicking on that, I get all of these at different sizes automatically rounded and automatically labeled building. I can see that. I look here, I select that one, and on the right-hand side under my tags, it says building yes. So that is a quick way of drawing a whole lot of round buildings, and then just use the Mapathoner batch tool to turn them into round buildings. Very quick, very easy. So let's just let's get rid of this. Right, now let's have a look at doing a rectangular building. So I press A on my keyboard again, and I can do this now. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Select and go to my Mapathona batch, batch orthogonal buildings, right? And there you can see they're automatically done, they're automatically squared, and they're automatically tagged. Once again, a very quick way of doing these buildings. Let's delete those. Now let's hypothetically say we have L-shaped buildings. So once again, we use our A for a line tool, and then we need to do the orthogonal. So it needs to know the short, it needs to know the long, and it needs to know that one. So it's 1, 2, 3. Oops, I did that wrong. So so it's 1, 2, 3, and let's do one here. 1, 2, 3. Select. If I've got this correct, the Mapathona should give me L-shaped buildings. And nope, I got it wrong. Okay. Right. Okay. I'll have to look at that to get the L-shaped tool. Right. Now, what I want to show Mapathona, selecting duplicate buildings. So let's just say that Control copy, Control V. Okay, so I've got a building on top of a building there. And the Mapathona will show me select duplicate buildings, and you can see that it highlights that building straight away. And it says, you have a look here. It doesn't fix anything for you. So it doesn't fix anything for you, but it certainly says, please have a look here, okay? And what you can do is just select and drag, and you can see there's two buildings. I always look for the one that carries the most history, and I leave that one behind. Failing, if they're both very new buildings, I look at the one that was put there first. So I can look at that by just saying Control H, and it opens up this history window, and I can see that that one was in 2018 1721. The other one, Control H. Okay, I haven't uploaded that, so it won't have the history, but I've just added that one. So that was the old building, and that's the new building. So I would delete the new building because the tags are all the same. Right, so there you can see the what happens there. Now, if let's just say, have unsquared buildings, let's have a look at the Mapathona, select non-orthogonal buildings. And once again, it highlights a whole lot. This one is not squared. That one, you saw me pull it out of square. So this one is not squared either. So it has highlighted a whole lot of buildings. That one has been squared because it's not highlighted. So you can see that it helps you to see, whoa, hang on, all of these buildings are not not squared. Now, please do not take a shortcut and just press Q on your keyboard and square all of them. Please check each one to see whether it should be squared or not, because in many cases, these buildings should not be squared, okay? And the ones we're looking at here, are all cases that should have been squared, but there are many that should not. So please do not just take a shortcut and press Q on your keyboard, because that can be fatal for a lot of history and information that we need in the shapes of buildings. So please remember that. Now, also, you can select non-round buildings. So if you have got, let's just say, someone who has drawn a building the old-fashioned way by just doing that, selecting and add here we are, add building equals yes. Okay, so there we've got a building, but it's not squared. So if I go to the Mapathoner, select non-round buildings, and that is highlighted, right? So now I can check, oh yes, that should be squared, should be rounded. So I press Q on my keyboard and it won't do it because Q will square it. So what I need to do is press R on my key. Let me go back. So press R on my keyboard to make it round. Now, because it's too far out, it will not round the building. You have to make it a little bit closer in. And it still won't round the building correctly. So you have to be careful here because automatically just pressing R on your keyboard to get them all round does not always work. So please check each one to make sure that it is working. Now, in this case, you would have to redraw it as a round building because it is not, the angles are not sufficient for it to be able to round the building correctly. Okay, sorry, I should be pressing O on my keyboard. You're quite right, Martine. Sorry, R on my keyboard will round that building. Sorry, O on the keyboard will round the building. I apologize for that. And there it is, O on the keyboard, not R. O. Okay, right. Let's move on. I'm watching the time now, and we've got Mapathoner. Now, one more really important one, don't do that, is the PT assistant. The PT assistant is really mainly about public transport. So if you're really into public transport, this is a tool for you. However, it is more important for a thing called the double split. Now, the double split helps to split roads, to add bridges, and to split waterways for culverts, and it automatically tags them and gives them a layer. So let's have a look at that and why it's so important. Right, so call my JOSM up again, and we have a highway, and let's just put a waterway in. So I press A on my keyboard, and I have a waterway, select, add, and I put there waterway, and I put there river. Okay, yes. Okay, so I have my waterway here. Now, if I have identified that there is a bridge over the waterway, I go to the left here and I see there, remember I've downloaded my PT assistant, and on the left here on the tools, there's now this little icon, which is called a double split. So you click on the double split and you add the node at the start of the bridge and you add a node at the end of the bridge. It comes up with a pop-up that says, you're busy splitting a highway. Do you want a bridge? Yes. And I say, okay. And it automatically selects that section isolates it from the rest of the highway, but retains all of the tagging of the highway. And then also, let me show you on the right here, it is added bridge yes, and it is added layer 1 because it goes over the river, so it's raised. So there you can see it has automatically added the bridge and the layer. Now let's go back. Now let's just say that this is a culvert instead of a bridge. So how would we do the culvert? We would once again select our double split, but we would click on the start of the culvert on the waterway, and we would click at the end of the culvert on the waterway. Now, it automatically identifies that you are on the waterway, and therefore you are looking for a tunnel culvert. So it's asking you, do you want a tunnel culvert? And you say, okay, right? It splits the waterway, but retains the names. And once again, on the right-hand side, you can see it has put their added tunnel culvert, and it has put layer -1. So that's automatically done for you. This is a quick, easy way of adding the culvert that isn't there. Right. So, of course, the other right. The other thing that this is used for is, of course, adding bus stops and things like that. So if you once again use the double split and you add that on the highway, you can say you want a bus bay or a traffic calming, right? So you can see that the PT assistant does more than just culverts and bridges. So you can select what you want. So if it's a bus bay or a traffic calming, that will work as well, okay? So that is the PT assistant, and it's a very useful tool. Going on to the next one. Right, this is a Terracer tool. It's used in cities, towns, and places where you have row houses, townhouses, terraced houses. You draw a single polygon around the whole row of buildings, and you use and this then splits the polygon into the desired number of units. It will also duplicate the address tags to each unit. So this is a very useful tool in terraced and rows of houses. So let us just have a look at how the Terracer works. Right, JOSM. Okay, so I'm going to try and do this. So I press B on my keyboard, and I have a long row of buildings. Okay, let's just say the street name is Polly Street. So I add address street. Let's just show you that. So I'm adding address street, and it was Polly Street. I didn't want caps. Polly Street. Okay. So the address is Polly Street. Just to give you an example. So now I am going to press Shift T on my key. Oh, come on. Where is my T? I'm just trying to find out which screen it's coming up on. It's not coming up. Okay. Trying to find out where that has gone. This is one of the problems of multiple screens. When you get a pop-up box, it can go to anywhere, and you need to find it. Let's just see whether we can find this. It won't. The pop-up box is not going to help. Let's just see if I can deselect. Right. Trying to find out where the pop-up goes. Where's my pop-up window? Oh, this is annoying.
Maybe you can stop sharing and start sharing again. Maybe that can help.
It's just a matter of trying to find out where this pop-up is going. That's interesting. Okay. It's opening the Terracer, but it's not showing up. That's quite interesting. I haven't seen that before. I think this is something that we need to look into, is why you can't get your Terracer to pop up. So it doesn't show pop-up. So let's just stop sharing and try and share again. Allow. Okay, so it's not showing me the tool. This is awkward. Okay, basically what it will do is it will give me a panel which tells, means I can select how many units should be inside that. Come on. It will allow me to select how many units are within this rectangle, and it will automatically split it into even units across the whole thing. So that's how it works. I apologize. It seems that sharing screen has a difficulty with little pop-up windows. I can't do a Terracer there. I can't get this to pop up. Pity. I would like to have shown Shift T. No, this is not allowing. This is a glitch in the sharing software. So it's not allowing the pop-up to come up. However, it does. Now, the interesting thing is, remember I added the address street. What will happen is every single one of those units will have that address street tag with it already. So it will duplicate the building and all its tags. So if I give a range of a numbered units, so if it's number 1 Polly Street or number 2 Polly Street, that will automatically go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, depending on the range that I give it. So if I use 7 units and I say the numbers are 1 to 7, it will automatically fill that with 1 to 7. So you can see that it's a very useful tool and very quickly adding address ranges as well. So now I'm going to move on. Sorry that was not working. Let's just see. So right, the next one, useful plugins, is imagery offset. Now, this is a very useful tool when you have, let's just say, a number of offsets in a project. You can go back and check whether there are any saved offsets for this current project. The problem with that is that you have to be careful. You can save the offset for a task square, but the problem with that is that if the imagery changes, then this doesn't work anymore. So you can check, but if you are doing a number of tasks and you want the validator to be able to check against the offset that you've done, you can save the offset for that task and you can then go back to it. So let me try again and see if we can do that and whether it will work. So here we go. So I am going to say that I want to move my imagery. So I will select, once again, where's the pop-up? All right, the pop-up is not there. So if you go to imagery, and you will see in imagery, it says there, your imagery preferences. That's where you select your imagery, the same way as you select your plugins or you select your map paint styles. It has a window on the left and a window on the right. But it says get imagery offset and store imagery offset. So you can store the imagery offset that you have created into that, and then you can get imagery offset, and that will bring any offsets of the imagery. So if I press it now, this has come up. Now here we have a whole set of imagery offsets for Bing, and these are created in 2021 and calibrating a roundabout from Mapillary and Strava. So you can see that this person has set the imagery offset for that roundabout. You can't use it over the whole project, but you can certainly use it if you have got those roundabouts, or you're using the Kampala-Kira road. You can have a look at what that was there, but that was back in 2021. We're now in 2025, and the image and the offset may not apply to the existing imagery. So please be careful, check the dates to see whether it's current or not. If it is current, it's useful to you. If it's not current, please be very careful using it. Okay. Right, let's close that. And last but not least, okay, you can see a list of all the JOSM plugins at JOSM plugins on the wiki, and you can experiment and have a look at which ones you can use, which ones are useful to you. There are a number of ones that I haven't covered here because we're looking at the time at the moment. If you are into AI mapping, then the plugin Map with AI will be a very useful help to you. If you are using photographs and you like that, then Mapillary may be a very useful tool for you. And there's another one called Conflation. Please experiment with some of these, have a look at them, see if you can use the Terracer that I was explaining, and go to the Terracer wiki and read up on that. Try out some of the utils plugins too. They're all very, very useful tools, both for mapping and for validation. Right, thank you very much. I'll pass you back to Michael, and thank you for your patience and listening to us. Back to you, Michael.
Mike, are you on mute?
Sorry for that, yeah, as to the technical problems we encountered today. So yeah, Ralph, thank you very much for your presentation, and I'd like to second what Martin just added here in the chat. The To-Do plugin is also quite a useful one, so you can collect a couple of items, put it in there, and then inspect them one after the other, and it will automatically jump to the respective objects. Yeah, the questions, which plugins should beginners start with first? Well, let's say the buildings tool is indispensable for mapping buildings, and the utils plugin too contains such a lot of individual things as they were shown by Ralph. I mean, you hardly can work without them. And yes, as far as the others go, you will pretty much like the paint styles, you will get used to them. So just have a look at the list, inspect them, or ask questions. The other amendment I'd like to make, if you use that PT Assistant plugin for splitting ways, and you then again move into a larger town, a city, and you see route numbers and station names popping up in very large letters. The PT Assistant automatically installs a public transport paint style, which you'd probably want to deactivate then if you're not into public transport mapping. So yeah, thanks again for Jeffrey for hosting the session and opening it, Ralph as my co-presenter, and thanks to all of you. You were nearly 60 at one point, who really convinced us that obviously this was an interesting topic for you. I'm pretty sure that questions might still arise afterwards. So one final attempt to share my screen because, as always, there are various ways how you can contact us. You can simply write an email to the Mapper support hotline, or the training working group also has an email address. For communications, we mainly use Slack. If you're not on it, join it by visiting slack.josm.org. You'll have to ask a few questions, and then you will be sent an invite link. And there, both the training working group as well as Mapper support have channels. There is also a channel for validation and for JOSM, so just browse around there, and usually you get fairly quick answers. And if you want to know more about the humanitarian OpenStreetMap team in general, have a look at our website. So this most probably was the last webinar for this year, but don't you worry, we'll find new ideas for next year. And of course, you can also reach out to us in order to make suggestions what topics you'd like to hear about from, and let's see if we can put up a webinar then. So, and with that, and I think, yeah, no further questions here on the chat to be answered. I think we can end the session. As already mentioned, it will appear on HOT's YouTube channel soon. And for anything else, yeah, reach out to us. So with that, I wish you, well, enjoy the rest of your day and this weekend. Thanks again for joining, and see you next time. And goodbye from us.